Okay, everyone, welcome. Welcome to our live Halachah class number 13. We are here in the sanctuary of Chabad of Forest Hills North together with my fellow friends. Welcome everyone to our live broadcast and welcome everyone. You're welcome to take yourself a nice hot coffee and some cake if you have in your cupboard. If you don't, you're welcome to come to Chabad on Shabbos and we will have a nice coffee and cake for you too, free of charge. Would you believe it? Yes, free of charge. And on that note, I would like to thank, because it's with your help, so all our supporters, with all our partners here at Chabad of Forest Hills North. I want to take the initiative now in the new year, in honor of the new year, to fiscal new year, to wish everyone a happy new year and thank you all our kind supporters and partners, from a volunteer level all the way through to a financial level, to moral and physical support in whatever way it may be. We want to thank you very much. You know who you are. To all our kind supporters and partners this past 2018 and in our Fuel Chabad campaign for the new year. Thank you so much. And with your help, we do have coffee and cake this Shabbos, as well as a nice Kiddush in honor of Shabbos Mevarchim, to celebrate the new year. You might wonder, why are we celebrating the new year? This is a physical new year. This is not the Jewish new year. Well, I'm going to tell you a story, quick story before we start, because we say that in order to get into the learning and to be excited in the learning, sometimes you start with a joke, and sometimes the story also helps. And it's actually a Talmudic verse that tells us that the Rabbanon, the rabbis, before they would start learning, they would say a joke, and with that they would start the learning. Hopefully we'll have more jokes. Maybe I'll ask my colleagues here to bring me jokes every week, so we could start with as long as it's a clean joke. We could start with a nice joke before the learning. It doesn't have to be pertaining to the learning. If it is, it's even nicer. But something that gets us more involved in the learning. We're trying to be colorful over here. We're trying to make it more exciting for everyone. Judaism is meant to be with a smile. Judaism is meant to be with enjoyment, and not, God forbid, the opposite. So the story is like this. My great uncle, we welcome all our viewers. We have viewers here jumping on. So we're just starting, and we're going to say a story. And for those of you that don't know, this is Rabbi Mendy Hecht of Chabad of Forest Hills North. Yes, I think by now you know who I am. I'm just here to facilitate and help the community grow together. We're all in it together, and to get inspired and to go in the way of Hashem. So the story is my great uncle. His name is, may he live and be well. He actually wasn't. He had a few heart attacks also recently, and thank God he's still trucking. And he has a Sfarim store, perhaps some of you know, Hecht Judaica in Flatbush. It's a very famous old Judaica store. For the old timers, perhaps you know, and those that don't, now you know. And he is very big in the esrogim business, in the Calabria, the ones from Italy, the ones like we got this past Sukkot. He has a huge orchard. He's from the biggest Calabrian importers of esrogim for the holiday of Sukkot. And back in the day, he was one of the only ones that actually people were able to go to. And the big Rebbes, it's not only a Chabad thing, but all the big Rebbes, all the big Rebbes from all other Hasidic sects also made it their business to go to him and buy that Italian esrog. Especially, we know, when we mentioned it already at Sukkot's time, that in Chabad it was a very important thing to have an esrog specifically from Calabria, because it's, when it talks about Moshe Rabbeinu in the Torah, it refers to Calabria Shel Yavan. It refers to that it's something, a Masoros, it's something that was given down all the way from Moshe Rabbeinu, that he also had such an esrog, and therefore the Rebbe made it his business to go even in the dangers of the Second World War, when things were already getting problematic, and the Rebbe was thank God, was escaped in time. He was basically running away from the war. The war was coming towards him, and he was running away from it. At one point, he even did a terrible, dangerous move, and went all the way to Italy. Crossed the border, went all the way to Italy to bring back from France, I think at the time, to bring back an esrog from Italy. The Mesiras Nefesh, the self-sacrifice just for that esrog, to do the hidur, to do the beauty of the mitzvah of lulav and esrog with this special custom. It wasn't an obligation. It was just a customary thing. But it's another lesson for us as Jews to learn that the custom of Jewish people is like Torah. We say minag Yisrael Torahi, custom of Jews, which is another halachic aspect that we learn in halacha. The customs of Jews are like Torah. Would you believe it? A custom, which is not halacha, it says in halacha that is like Torah. So it's something very important for us to note as well, that even the customs, even the simple things that we do, that our mom and dad did growing up, sometimes it might even translate to a gefilte fish or a matzah ball soup, but more importantly, the deeper, meaningful, mystical, and customs that we do as Jewish people, whether we're Ashkenazic or Sephardic, they are like Torah. So this great uncle of mine, this man, his name is Shalom Hecht, Sydney, they call him in English, and he told us they call himself Sydney. In fact, in Tafshin Chai, with all due respect, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, you hear him in the tape recording by this special gathering of Hasidim in the 770 headquarters. The Rebbe screaming, and the Rebbe drank already a little bit of l'chaim. But what was amazing about the Rebbe is when he drank l'chaim, God forbid, it wasn't like some, I don't know what, a person that drinks, like a simple man that drinks, and sometimes hopefully even the simple men are disciplined. But by the Rebbe, when he drank, even more so, not only was he disciplined, but he would speak the most mystical and deepest aspects of Torah, that if you were there then, that's what you wanted. You wanted to be there at those points, especially because the Rebbe would cry and talk about the most holy and mystical things you wouldn't hear sometimes even on a regular basis when the Rebbe did speak so mystical and so spiritual and so godly. And the Rebbe screams out to him in the middle, Lo yikari shimcha Sidney ela shalom, that you should stop calling yourself Sydney, call yourself Shalom. Basically, Rebbe's asking him to stop calling himself by his Jewish name, and basically quit the non-Jewish names that at the time was very popular. People call themselves these types of names: Sydney, Bob, whatever. Everyone with their, those old-fashioned, even my grandfather, on his passport is called Peter. Like they had all these like very secular names, especially back then. And I think today, if anything, I think we're more in tune, and we try to give ourselves more the Jewish types of names, Baruch Hashem, even in the secular world. And I'm seeing it when I see a bris that happens in our communities. It's beautiful to see. People are it's important to them to make sure that the child also has that Jewish name, not only by the bris, but he tries to incorporate it also in the regular day-to-day. It's a very, very beautiful thing. Anyway, so my great uncle had his Calabria esrog business, and he would go to Italy. He had a bookstore. He told us very day. Both businesses are still running. His sons are helping him, and he even still flies to Italy. He had an open door to the Rebbe's home, to the Rebbe's office. Open door to the Rebbe's office. This is not usual by Chabad Hasidim. There was only very few people. You count on the finger, maybe like 5 people or 4 people or more or less. I'm not sure, but not too many. Literally, you could count them on your finger that had an open door to the Rebbe's private room for audiences. Usually, you had to get permission. You had to call in advance. The secretaries had to put you on a schedule. You sometimes waited hours. Sometimes you would end up coming in at 3 a.m. because the Rebbe was there sometimes having audiences till 5 a.m. and the sun was already shining. At one audience, the Rebbe said, he turned out to the back of the window, he turned around the window behind him, and he says, another day. Basically, after a whole night, the Rebbe probably was tired, probably wanted to go to sleep. Who knows? What's the first thing the Rebbe says? A new day. Basically, another day, the sun is shining, another day to do Hashem's will. And these were audiences that people had to schedule. Shalom Hecht, Reb Shalom Hecht, my great uncle, my grandfather's brother, had an open door policy. He wouldn't even have to knock. He probably knocked and walked in. Literally walked in whenever he wanted, which was an amazing thing. And it was only for special people like that. So on one occasion he walked in, it was the New Year's. It was the fiscal New Year. He walks in and the Rebbe says, Happy New Year. My great uncle turns to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, versteh nicht. I don't understand. The Rebbe is telling me Happy New Year. Like, with respect, he asked the Rebbe, this is the physical New Year. What do you mean? And obviously, he probably didn't say it the way I'm saying it. He probably said it in the most humility and asked the Rebbe, please explain, basically. The Rebbe knows what he's saying. Please explain it to me. And the Rebbe answered that Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, the holy Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, in his synagogue, did the same thing. And on the physical New Year's, he wished everyone a Happy New Year. On the physical New Year. And he said to them, Hashem Yisper B'chsoiv Amim. It says in the Tehillim, King David says, Hashem Yisper B'chsoiv Amim. God counts what's written by the nations, the calendar of the nations. And therefore, says the Rebbe, therefore I am doing it too. And therefore I'm keeping up that tradition like Reb Levi Yitzchak. The same way the secular calendar exists in this world and it's God's world, God also sees it, God counts it too, because it's all part of God's creation. Therefore it's something that we acknowledge too. And possibly, and therefore the Rebbe said Happy New Year's, and it was a very beautiful thing. And ever since then, the story has been passed down. I mean, he's still here, and he keeps on telling over the story, and it's all advertised everywhere. Another thing, I just in my humble opinion, I think that also it might have to do with the fact, the same way we say on a physical birthday. A physical birthday is a connection with our physical needs. The physical New Year has to do with our physical needs. Even though we say that God is already giving us all our sustenance from the beginning to the end of the year on Rosh Hashanah, on the Jewish New Year, there is perhaps some sort of connection. Also intertwined in that, perhaps, that also the Rebbe was trying to tell us. But definitely the quote from the Tehillim, from King David, is pretty obvious and pretty straightforward, that it's something that we could also acknowledge, and the Rebbe showed us that it's something we could acknowledge. So therefore, Happy New Year to everyone, and we're going to start right away because, as usual, I love to tell you all the details, but I'm going to stop myself quicker to go straight to the learning, and we'll go from there. And yes, if anyone has questions, please ask. Whether we're commenting below or being in touch with us directly via email or text or you name it. Says the Shulchan Aruch, we're holding by page 64, Siman, chapter 8, and we're holding by paragraph 5. Osur lahaktim l'fesach havei. It is forbidden to, by Shachris, by the morning time. We're talking about morning things that are important in the morning. We mentioned previously the fact that in the morning it's important to daven. And therefore, because of that, the restriction, because we have to make sure we pray, and we shouldn't forget to pray also, and like many other mitzvahs that we don't want to forget to do them, we say do them first. Every day, the Ma'ariv prayer, every day, just by the way, every day, every evening, when you have to do the services, the evening prayer, which incorporates, for those of you that don't know, it's not a long prayer. Maybe if the Shacharit is too long for you and to say Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu Echad is sufficing for you, which is beautiful. But guess what? The night prayer is just the same. If you say Shema Yisrael, and you could possibly try to do the Amidah like in the morning, the silent prayer, you fulfill the Ma'ariv evening prayer. And to the extent how important it is, these prayer times, is that you have to make a reminder. If you're going to decide to do something else, you have to go to your friend and tell your friend to remind you to make sure to pray. Because really, officially, you're not allowed to do anything. You're not allowed to eat. You're not allowed to do anything else until you pray. If you happen to have no choice and you're in a situation, you have an event, let's say, which happens many times at Chabad. We're in the middle of an event from the afternoon all the way into the night. And we're stuck, and there's people we have to greet, and we have to be there for the community. And I can't just go onto the side and stop praying. It's not going to be right. Even though it's a nice maybe gesture, and people should see that the time of prayer is a time of prayer, but at the same time, sometimes it's just not possible. So the fact that we make sure to remind ourselves by telling someone that's going to remind you, then you're allowed to. So to the extent you see how important it is, you even have to make sure you have like an alarm clock. But it's important specifically to tell your friend to remind you. So we see the importance of prayer, and we see that nothing else should happen before prayer. So he's saying in the morning, when you're meant to pray the morning prayer, what happens? Someone comes and greets you. So he says, you're not allowed to go to your friend the other way around. You want to go to your friend to greet him. You're not allowed to decide to start greeting your friends, going to your friends' homes to greet them, or say to them, hi, how are they? How are they? Also, even just to say good morgen, he says in Yiddish, guten Morgen. Even to say to him good morning. Even to say good morning, those words is also forbidden when you have to go pray. Why? Because it says, in Yeshaya Hanavi, in the prophets Yeshaya, in chapter 222, what does it say there? It says, desist from the honor of the man who has breath in his nostrils, for with what is he respected? What does that mean to say? This means to say, with what justification do you show this man respect? That you decided to give him respect before you respect God. This is like God saying, basically. And therefore, it's not right. Basically, why are you giving him respect before you meant to give God respect? Sorry, question?
Yeah, because there are a lot of times, let's say I'm doing daily shacharit, and I'm in the shul, and people walk in and they say, Boker Tov. Now, I might have not even put on my tefillin yet. I might have just finished the 18 blessings. And I see everyone, of course, would say either their Boker or good morning. Is that because we're already in the shul that it's okay to say that?
Correct.
Okay.
Here he's talking about you're going out of your way. You're taking extra time to leave somewhere to spend time by others, like sort of to be distracted by the fact that you have to go to shul and daven.
Okay.
Correct.
That makes sense.
By the way, we would like to welcome our viewers and listeners, Rachel Sherman and Scott Halpern. Welcome to our class tonight. Just give me one moment. I just want to take a drink. I'm sorry. You like one?
No, but I'm pulling the cup out.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And just while we're at it, so we don't waste time, I would like to inform everyone that this year we're going to have more educational classes than ever, and in all different subjects. Some less minutes, some more minutes, longer classes, shorter classes for everyone from all levels of observance to enjoy. We already have classes throughout the week. You want it? We already have classes throughout the week, which include a Torah and Tifa women every Tuesday night. Wednesday night, we have usually our Halachah class. We ended up having to do it tonight because of a gathering. I had to attend a wedding gathering of a colleague. And we usually do a Wednesday night, the Halachah class. Thursday night, we have Thursday night, we have also a Torah studies class, a special class that is on the portion of the week with mystical interpretations, beautiful, that goes with the sources, etc. Even has student books, really inspirational. And then we have a class on Shabbos as well, Shabbos morning at 9:30. So we have classes throughout the week. We also have one-on-one classes. We're learning with people on an individual level of their choice, classes, things that people want to learn that pertain to them or that they feel like they're holding on. More than welcome to have lunch and learns. We have also on the boulevard or in people's place of business. Doesn't have to be necessarily here. If someone is part of our community and they want us to come to Manhattan, to your office there, and have even a few minutes, even if you tell me, Rabbi, 10 minutes, that's it. I want 10 minutes of Torah. I'll even make it my business to be there. We'll chapanash, we'll have a little bit of coffee, cake, or even a lunch. Kosher, that's the main thing. And we'll learn a little bit of Torah together to make the workplace also a little holier. And we're more than welcome to do that. This is part of our volunteer service that we do for the community. We're here to be there and inspire each other. We're all here to learn and to gain from each other. So with that, we will continue. So he says you're not allowed to go to you're not allowed to go to someone specifically to take your time and give them shalom greetings. If you happened to see them by chance, according to the law, you're allowed to give him shalom. You're allowed to give him hello. But it's better that you change the way you say it. They should eat and leave, so that his friend should notice. That is forbidden to be busy with other things until you daven. Sorry, 1 second. This thing was not turned off. I'm getting there. Maybe next time I'll remember. Good. Okay. So you change the wording in order that he should realize that this is not a time to be schmoozing around. We have to go to shul. You don't want to be not nice to a person. So you say to them whatever you got to say to them. Like even if you're in the shul, also it's not a time to start schmoozing. So how's business going and how's that, and then you end up the chazan is already holding. Especially here at Chabad, you might find out by the time you finish talking, the chazan already finished musaf, based on the express rate we do over here, which for some of you might be a good thing. If you're looking for a place that still prays but doesn't take too long, so it's not the ideal thing to do, but we're here to accommodate the community. And if you're going to say a Shema Yisrael prayer, and even if you'll do it quickly, and even chap a little bit of chant and l'chaim at the same time, I think God will be happy too. Anyway, so we say just change the language. We're holding by paragraph 6. Even if you want to, okay, Rabbi, I want to learn Torah with you. Can I learn with you now before the prayers? Yeah, you have sometimes all of some of these guys, they want to become all of a sudden serious by the prayer services. Rabbi, I want to learn with you something now. They're getting bored from the cantor. He's a little bit boring, so they want to start learning. So, no. I feel a little bit also lastly, you're not allowed to learn. Mishallah Ahmad Shachat. From daybreak, you're not allowed to learn because of the prayers. Because as long as daybreak came, that means it's a time of prayers, you're not allowed to learn. But if a person is regular to go to the shul, and we're not concerned that he'll miss the time of prayer, it's permitted for him to learn before Shabbos. What happens? There are people that do it at home. So if they do it at home, so then they're going to learn, they'll forget. Because at home, that's what happens. It's the nature of a person. But if he has a time on his watch, and I have to be in shul at a certain time, that's going to sort of ring a bell by him, and he's going to have to make sure he's in shul. So therefore, he could start having a Torah session, perhaps at home, especially in shul. Might not be a big deal. So the truth is, as long as it's before the prayers, not in the time of prayers, it might not be a big deal because there is a time. Chabad, we're working on it at Chabad to have a time. So you might say, but in Chabad there's no time either. Okay, true thing. But Chabad is higher than time. But but at the same time, we try to run on a schedule. And on that note, this Shabbos we hope to run on a schedule with a Torah class and then davening at 10 o'clock. Please be there. Free advertising? Yeah, okay. Next. And also, if a person learns with other people, and if they won't learn now, they won't learn at all. Basically, they won't have a learning session altogether. It's either before prayers. It's like by us in Chabad. Some people are coming on this Shabbos morning just to learn, right? People are. This is their learning for the whole week. This is their inspiration for the whole week. Otherwise, they're stuck at work. That's what he's saying here. If he's learning with other people, and if he won't learn now, he will not learn at all. You're allowed to learn with them, even though we say that this whole thing before Shachris, the whole concept of learning before Shachris is not ideal only in specific circumstances. you're still allowed to in these types of cases where you have to learn with someone else. Why? Because the great merit involved in Torah learning of the many of others, to merit others in Torah learning is a big deal, and sort of outrides this issue that we have with prayer. He nevertheless says, as much as we say in general, because prayer time came, you shouldn't be learning, because then you'll, God forbid, forget. In these types of circumstances, we should give you the opportunity to learn, but it doesn't mean it overrides prayers. As long as he makes sure that the time of learning, that the time of prayers doesn't go away. That he should make sure that he still prays.
You don't pray that you don't steady past the time you got to do Shema.
Exactly. We're holding by Simon Tess. We welcome everyone. Those that still haven't chimed in till this day, you're welcome to chime in now. This is a new class, basically a new section. It's on the section of tzitzit of the laws of the four-cornered garment. We're going to talk about it anyway, but just to preface, I know it's so basically the point is like this, that when you have a four-cornered garment, it's a responsibility to wear a four-cornered garment, not just only if you have a four-cornered garment. No, it's important to buy a four-cornered garment. The mitzvah is to make sure you have a four-cornered garment and to wear it. Any four-cornered garment that you have in your possession must have tzitzis on it. The mitzvah of tzitzis is not only when you have a four-cornered garment. The mitzvah of tzitzis is to have a four-cornered garment. And also the mitzvah of tzitzis is going to be obligatory on any four-cornered garment. It could be even a tablecloth. The tablecloth has exactly four corners. You have to make sure they're rounded. Otherwise, they could be obligated in tzitzis. Sometimes you have to be aware of those things. Yeah, or you have to make sure that you find also different the shirt that you wear. Right? Here's a good example. The shirts that you wear. Some of them today, of these shirts that we wear, they have these like squares at the bottom or things, and you have to be very careful that they are not squared, and for that reason you have to cut aside. Or you find on the long coats that we wear in Chabad, a lot of them come with squares. If you'll notice in Chabad, or probably any Orthodox Jew that wears those long coats, because you have other sectors that wear them, you see that it's rounded on one edge. Meaning, as long as one edge is not exactly square, then it's not obligated in tzitzit. So he says like this: how great the mitzvah of tzitzit is. Why? I guess I should preface this too. It says like this. It says the Torah commands us that when wearing a garment that has four corners, one must affix tzitzis, tassel-like fringes, to the corners of the garment. They shall make themselves fringes on the corners of the garments. Each of the tzitzis tassels is made up of 4 strings. It's more important, this concept, the example that I gave of a shirt, not of a tablecloth, because a tablecloth is not something you wear. So it's something that you put on that has 4 corners, should have tzitzis on them, and that's what he's saying. And it says, should make up 4 strings that are inserted into the corners of the garment, and then knotted and twisted in a specific manner to form a braided tassel. So he says like this: how great is the commandment of tzitzis? The reward for its observance and the punishment for its neglect are very great. The Torah equates this commandment and also connects it, all the mitzvahs are compared to this mitzvah. He compares it. All the mitzvahs of the Torah. Shenamar, how do we know this? Because it says, you will see the tzitzis and you will know all the mitzvahs of Hashem. You will remember, all the mitzvahs of Hashem and perform them. Seeing the tzitzis reminds us, 1, the commandment because of the numerical value of why does it remind you of all of them, of all the mitzvahs of the Torah? Because the numerical value of the word tzitzis alludes to 613 commandments, and as follows. And he says like this: tzitzis is begematria sheish meis. The letters of the word tzitzis have the numerical value 600, and as so is written in the Torah, in the Shulchan Aruch. Shmeina chutin v'chamisha ksharim. Then you add the 8 strings that hang down from the knots of each tassel, and the 5 knots tied in each tassel. That is 613. 8 and 5 plus the 600 of tzitzis, of the word tzitzis, equals Taryag 613. And that corresponds to all the mitzvahs of the Torah. Okay, therefore, being that the mitzvahs remind us of all the mitzvahs of the Torah, therefore, it's so important that a Jew should make sure he has a small talit, a talit katan, the tzitzis that he should be able to wear all day long, says the Shulchan Aruch, that he should wear the entire day. Okay? And I'm going to tell you something further that not everyone knows. Chaim. That in Hasidic circles, especially in our circles, I know better about what we do than others. It's always nice to hear what others do too. But in our circles in Chabad, we wear tzitzis also to sleep. Same way we wear a kippah to sleep, we wear tzitzis to sleep. And obviously the difference, the tzitzis of the night is not the same tzitzis of the day because of the tumah, etc., and things like that. And it's more about actually the bracha, to be able to say the bracha on the tzitzis, etc. Because the blessing obviously is only by day, but to wear it, it's important to wear it at night as well. So when we say kolayim kolay, it's best even to wear it even at night. What does he say here? Interesting thought, because I mentioned it before because of the final verdict, but he says over here that the Torah does not obligate one to wear tzitzis, a four-cornered garment with tzitzis. The command is only that if one wears a four-cornered garment, you should make sure it has tzitzis on it. It's not that you have to wear a four-cornered garment in order to have tzitzis on it. He continues to say, we wear this garment with tzitzis all the time because of great need to remember all the commandments. That's why it's something that was sort of incumbent upon us by the rabbis, because to remember the commandments. And that's what he says. Nowadays, since this has become the Jewish custom, one is obligated to wear a four-cornered garment with tzitzis, whether he likes it or not, whether he has one or not. And this is from Meisher, the Igris Meisher of Meisher Feinstein. He mentions it also on the section of Orach Chaim, Shulchan Aruch, and many others take that. Obviously, the rest of us all hold the same way, that it became a custom. And like we say many times, that Minig Yisrael Torah, again, like we said before, the customs of the Jewish people is Torah itself, and you can't say this is less, this is more. It's not written in the Torah. You used to find a lot of times people that are not aware, they tell me, Rabbi, this is a biblical commandment, but this is just a rabbinical. And to the extent that people actually practice the biblical more and take the rabbinical lightly. The biblical itself tells us, the same way the Shulchan Aruch tells us about customs. The biblical Torah tells us to listen to what the rabbis are going to tell you. To listen, V'yaminu b'Hashem u'v'Moshe avdei, says, and you should believe in God and Moshe his servant. And it tells us commandments. One of the commandments is to listen to the rabbis. So it's a commandment. You have to listen to what the rabbis are going to tell you. So therefore, you can't differentiate. We have no right to say this is less, this is more. It's all part of the same Torah. To the extent that we also see that even customary things become Torah. That's how to the extent. And we have to realize there's no way out. There's no leeways. If you're not holding there, admit that you're not holding there. Don't blame the rabbis. Don't say they're just rabbis. Say I'm not holding there. Torah and the rabbis is all one. And one mitzvah at a time. And if you're not holding, that's fine. I mean, we have to strive for more, but at least realize that it's not that this is worse, this is harsh, this is more. No, it's all important and all something that we have to do, and we have to do it with love and fear and excitement and joy, and in the best way that will give us appreciation to Hashem and everything He provides for us. So that's something just interesting for us to remember. And he continues to say, V'yeshel tzemer, and he says that it should be of tzemer rechalim. He says the best way to do it, talis cotton, shouldn't be of cotton. It should be of wool of a sheep. My my tzitzis are of wool of a sheep. They're made of wool. Yes, it could be hot at times in the summer, but we wear it because this is the best way to do it. He says in the footnote that it's meritorious to wear a talis cotton made of sheep's wool, whose tzitzis are also made of wool, even during the hot summer. Exactly what I just said.
Yep.
One who does so will merit heavenly blessing from Reb Moshe Feinstein from Igros Moshe. Quotes. Just by the way, Reb Moshe Feinstein was one of the later poskim of our generation. The Lithuanian communities they pretty much go according to him. He was a big halachic authority. He was a very, very cherished and beloved friend to the Lubavitcher Rebbe. There was a lot of Torahs. Yeah, he greeted him and he hugged him. When he came for private audiences, they loved each other very much. And the Torah, I guess it was like, it was a very, very deep love between each other of Torah, etc. You see in his works, you see certain things that resemble a lot of Hasidic customs today, and for some reason the Lithuanian Jewry sometimes are not keeping to it. Even the laws of, and I'm sorry to say this with all due respect to all of you out there that are not necessarily Hasidic, but Rabbi Moshe Feinstein was not Hasidic. He didn't consider himself Hasidic, but a lot of his ways happened to end up being Hasidic ways. A lot of his halachic guidelines and rulings. And one of them, which is very, very pertinent, and I should mention it being that we're on it anyway, now we're talking about him, is the law of chalav stam, of milk that is not of, that it used to be chalav akum, it used to be milk of a non-Jew, of idol worshippers. That was the status in Shulchan Aruch. It became something also that, it talks about these things more, and the details of it we won't get into, but we could call it chalav stam also today. Chalav stam is just plain milk, meaning to say it's not milk that we have to even worry anymore. Also, that there is a problem, perhaps there's pig's milk in it, especially in the United States, because there's a law. The United States says that you cannot mix pig's milk with regular milk anymore. But it ends up being not chalav Yisrael. Chalav stam ends up being just simply chalav that is not watched by a Jew, and that itself is also an issue. Reb Moshe Feinstein clearly states that in very rare circumstances, in extreme cases, only then it was permissible to do so. But his law wasn't to permit it. His law was saying that it's not permissible. And even his people, even the Jewish, even Jewish Lithuanian or religious Lithuanian Jews should be keeping chalav Yisrael. Chalav Yisrael, milk of a Jew, milk that was watched by a Jew, that has a special seal on it that says Chalav Yisrael, and they have it here, thank God, in many of even the non-kosher groceries in our areas, in Queens and Brooklyn. It's not something hard to get. We're talking here pretty much to our people here in the neighborhood of Queens and New York. Sometimes in the Outback, or sometimes in these far-off upstate areas, and even there, especially because there's so many, especially in the summer months, it's possible, because that's when all the religious people are there. But even possibly in the winter, they already have things like that there. And maybe in Texas, some I don't know what, some ranch over there, maybe you might have a hard time. But today, it's so much more accessible. Even if you talk about Texas, talk about some of these crazy, even China today. And sometimes so many far-off places we used to think are far-off today with the modern technology, we have everything. Thank God. I don't want to say to that extent, because sometimes people have a hard time getting kosher food to places till this very day, and sometimes the customs make the issues. It's not really about how you ship it. So yes, everything depends on where, what, and when. But for us, let's talk for us here in New York. Reb Moshe Feinstein made it pretty much clear that we should be guarding the rules of chalav Yisrael, of milk watched by a Jew. For some reason, we're still seeing right in front of our eyes in the supermarkets here in Brooklyn. It's forbidden. In Brooklyn, you don't walk into a kosher supermarket and see non-chalav Yisrael products. It became obvious for a Jew. You walk into a non-chalav Yisrael, a kosher supermarket, it's always chalav Yisrael. I lived in Brooklyn all my life. I didn't live in Brooklyn all my life. I lived in Australia all my life. But even in Australia, the kosher stores only. Australia, picture, far off. The kosher stores, and we had all different types of Jews. It wasn't only Hasidic. You had the Lithuanians, you had the Mizrahi, Bnei Akiva, you had the more modern, less modern. You had all types, secular. and some of them liked shopping by kosher. Only Chalav Yisrael, only milk by a Jew, only milk products by a Jew. I lived in Brooklyn. When I lived in Brooklyn, you walked into a kosher supermarket, only Chalav Yisrael. I came to Queens, moved to Queens as a Chabad emissary, and I find that I walk into what's called the kosher supermarket, so many non-Chalav Yisrael, and basically dairy products, just dairy. Oh, you dairy without the Chalav Yisrael, without the special symbol watched by a Jew, Chalav Yisrael. And I actually used to make mistakes. I used to bring things home because I said it's a kosher supermarket, and a lot of the times I got used to not having to look, and then I would, which was wrong. I should always be careful to look, and I started being more careful, especially after I made those mistakes coming home here from Queens with products. So that's something also for those of you that are new to Queens, realize that there is this two sections within the kosher supermarkets of, yes, they do provide the Chalav Yisrael products, but they also provide the non-Chalav Yisrael products. And I question that. Why? Why is that the case? Why are we doing that? Especially, why are religious Jews buying those products? If you're not as religious, you're still not holding there, it's one thing. But if you're religious and you claim also, the problem is a lot of the religious Jews are claiming Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, the Halachah authority, he permitted it. And they're not even realizing it was a b'diavad. It was an after effect. It was if something happened, we were in a situation, a far off situation, and back in the day it was much harder here too. Moshe Feinstein officially, if you look back into his tshuva, into his more careful with, as much as we can. I know I went off a little bit. It was just something that I felt was important because we see that the Moshe Feinstein of blessed memory taught us as well that even these seemingly Hasidic aspects are very important for the regular Jew that wants to keep Torah mitzvahs, and they might seem more Hasidic because for some reason only a lot of the Hasidic are more taking upon these laws and guidelines, whereas the others are for some reason not as strong in them, even though it's their mentor and leader and halachic authority. So it only teaches us that we have to try to do whatever we can to stick to to what is important and what is right, and not to pick and choose. And that's that. And he says he'll merit having blessings. However, we say that other materials are also allowed to be used for the tzitzit besides wool, but definitely using sheep's wool is preferable. Rav Moshe Feinstein also says in his halachic responses that if it's made of totally synthetic materials, it's not required in tzitzis. Would you believe that?
That's interesting.
Yeah, totally synthetic. It has to be cotton. That's why those cotton undershirts. The cotton undershirts, the cotton tzitzis. As long as it's cotton, as long as it's real materials, live materials from the ground, whatever. Natural, then that's where it's an obligation. Let's finish off over here. It's starting to get late. Yeah, how are we with the time?
2010.
Okay. So said the boss. Okay.
Get another 20.
What do you think?
Got a 10.
Ah, yeah?
Yeah, I started at 9.
So I started late. I'm sorry. We didn't start at 9. Anyone could testify over here when we start. Anyone there? Anyone?
We were on about 10 too.
Oh, okay.
Kicking off.
Oh, because we had stories saying the actual laws. Oh, this guy's you're mamash ayeke. Anyway, did I make this too bright? It feels very bright now. Okay, bright is good.
Looks good.
I don't know why it wasn't on before. Okay, we're going to continue. Yes, as long as everyone's interested in learning and knowing what they should do, that's important. So why not? I'm here.
Are we going to get to whether you word out or in? Because that's always a big discussion.
We will talk about that too. I hope we'll still talk about that tonight. Okay. Let's continue in the law. Lavan, v'yeshal tzemer rechalim, it should be of wool, and lavan, it should be white. We have a comment below. 44 minutes. I'm on for 44 minutes. That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Based on the time, on the clock that's ticking.
Yeah.
Okay, but Herb says that it doesn't go based on time, it goes based on the law. The actual laws, when did they start reading? When do we start learning laws? But Rachel's saying the laws really started even from the story because you're learning so much deep laws from stories too.
For my wife.
See, okay, so this is a question. Is the story also teaching us a rule in Torah, or is it just the actual rules that we learn in the book? Okay, it's a good question. We'll talk about that maybe on different occasion. Anyway, the gadol kashir, it should be really the required measurement. So the thing is that yes, the rule of the tzitzis has to be able to go around you. You have to be able to put the sides into each other. And in fact, it's customary to actually wear a bendel, we call it. A bendel in Yiddish. It means a round string, around the tzitzis from inside. Yes. I'll be honest with you right now, I'm not wearing one. A lot of times when I put on my tzitzis, I still at least make sure that they're around each other. What's the point? They shouldn't move out of place. The tzitzis is not enough that you just see strings flying everywhere. And sometimes even that's not important necessarily. They should be flying like that crazy everywhere. Sometimes it's not respectful. Okay, and I know you asked the question about in and out. Sometimes out is important, but the question is how out. You have people that are hanging them like I don't know what, like they're shmatas on the floor. You have to, everything has a way it should be done. But definitely from the inside too. What you don't see even has to be actually around you properly. And to not make sure it doesn't go out of place, it should have even a string around it that keeps it in place. If you want to do it really right. So he's saying it should be godel kashir, it should be as large as required. What is that measurement? 3/4 of an amma long, and a half an amma wide. And this is the way we also go by. Amma must be 1 amma long, 1 amma wide. We call it amma al amma. Amma al amma. When we buy it, we already know what that means. We don't have to tell it. They usually provide you the right measurements. That's going to make sure it's going to be amma al amma. Make sure that it's going to be the proper length on you. And he says like this: the length of an amma is between 18.9 and 22.7 inches, which is 48 to 57.7 centimeters. So that's in front, and 1 amma behind him, and the whole of the neck does not count towards the measurement. And the width of an amma. The Mishnah Berurah also writes that it's proper to want to have a talus cotton that conforms to the larger measurements. That you should try to go for the larger measurement, according to the Mishnah Berurah. We could go possibly, if you want, into more depth of these exact laws and how they differ from others and halachic authorities. We're just mentioning right now a halachic authority that holds that it should be a larger measurement than amma lama, if you can. But as far as I recall, for the most part, we go by the lower measurement. And what's most important is, most of the time, is what we have to do is pretty simply go to the store and measure that it's not coming up like this on you, like all the way up, or totally not going around you properly, but it should be going low enough on you, going around you a little bit, and that's usually, I think, pretty much the what's going to consider it okay for the purpose, for what he's mentioning, for these laws of how big it should be. Those who make the talis cotton, tough and not studding. Knitted. They're knitted by the sides, which are like those undershirt style things, sewn up at the sides. Certainly, you have to be careful that it should be open on each side. That it should be opened on each side. A majority of an amount of the length of the garment. And the sides may not even be closed with hooks. It shouldn't even be with hooks, like they hook them. You have to make sure that most of it should be open from the sides. And if you have a drop that closes, that's a different story. If you want a little bit, and maybe I think the undershirts are like that, no? Or they're totally tight, they shut, and then that's a problem.
No,
They're pretty much open and then shut at the
they're-
bottoms or something, right? I think at the bottoms they shut. I think that's what it is, something like that.
Yeah.
Yom Nizar also, in addition, every person should take care. She had like talis gadol with tzitzis, to have a talis gadol with tzitzis. Talis gadol, a big talis. You should be able to daven with. Don't forget. And that is usually an Ashkenazic custom to wear after you marry. I also recall learning that there are Ashkenazim that were wearing it from bar mitzvah too.
Yeah.
So it differs, depends.
Yeah.
But for the most part, Ashkenazim don't wear it till they get married. It's not a Chabad thing; it's an Ashkenazic thing. You'll still will find Ashkenazim that do wear after bar mitzvah, but for the most part, the Sfardim are the ones that wear it from bar mitzvah.
I knew what Ashkenazim we wore it after bar mitzvah, but we wore a very short talit, not a full talit.
So what does that mean? So you wore a talis katan maybe?
No,
You didn't put it over you? You put it?
Yeah, you did. But
I did.
It was like a half a talit. It was.
Interesting.
You couldn't really cover your head with it. To me,
Right.
it was more like a practice talit.
Could be, yeah. And we also have those, don't forget, we have also the Hasidim, other than Chabad, not like in Chabad, where they wear the talis, the small talis, the small tzitzis over their shirts.
Mm-hmm.
The Hasidic sects, some are not even Hasidim. Satmar wears their tzitzis over their garments too, which they're not classified as Hasidim. But mainly, for the most part, I think they're capping Hasidim, the Satmar. But all the other Hasidic sects, that's what they do. Bells, Babith. You might find, actually, there might be, forgetting which, I think some of them don't wear it on top. I don't know if it's a rule or some are more modern, but I've noticed also by other Hasidim, sometimes you see them without it on top. I don't know if it's because they're at work or not, or it's just they're more modern, or maybe the obligation by them is not like us. So it might differ by some of the others. But for the most part, the majority, like if you go to Williamsburg Borough Park, you'll see them wearing it over their garments. With like a vest, right? They have the vest and have the tzitzis underneath it. It's this famous style there. Same way in Chabad we have our dress, which is pretty much a suit on a weekday. Only on Shabbos for the one that's married, you'll notice a difference where where we're wearing the longer coat, and it's much different than theirs. It's more like a how do you call it in English? What do you call a frock? What do you call it?
But you're talking like a long coattail, like a
what do they call it? A tux. It's called a tux.
Tux style.
Like those clown. What do you call the clown? Not the clowns. Those conductors or whatever you call them.
Okay.
Sometimes wear them, so it has a name, no?
I'm sure it does.
They look very similar to them. Like they come out like that a little bit more, maybe.
Well,
yeah. Anyway.
I don't know what the style
Okay,
is.
whatever it is, but
My wife would know.
Anyway. Maybe we could get it for cheaper if we go to those regular stores and buy them. We're going to ours, so okay, $500 a piece. You find it on eBay. You just fix it up a little bit. It might be worthwhile. It's like the fedoras, right? On that note, okay, yeah, you can't forget that one. Okay, fine. And you should have that talis gadol, the big talis that he's saying. One should endeavor to beautify the mitzvah by having a beautiful talis. And kol mitzvahs, and also that's the truth in regards to every mitzvah. So he should make sure that they're beautiful. Mitzvahs have to be beautiful. It says about mitzvahs. It's written in the Torah, in Shmos, in fact. 15:2, Pasuk 2. This is my God, and I will beautify him. We interpret it that this means it's not a fun of mitzvahs. You should beautify God, you should beautify yourself before God in the fulfillment of his commandments. For enhanced performance of commandments, one makes himself beautiful before Hashem. And you should be careful. One should be careful to buy tzitzis. Mi'ish Naaman, from a trustworthy person. So he can be sure. Shanasu, they were prepared with regard to the spinning and the twisting. They have to be done right. There's a way they have to be spun and twisted. And we say Avidas Yad, hand twisted, handmade. Each strand has, if you notice, is twirled, right?
Yeah.
Each strand itself, I'm talking about just this itself, is twirled. That twirl, is it done by a machine or by hand? By hand is very important, even though you can get it by machine. But that's what we call the difference between beautifying, right? When you beautify the mitzvah, when you put time and effort into the mitzvah to make it beautiful, we say by hand. It's like the matzah by hand, right? Shenasu b'tvi b'shziyah b'feirush lishma, and also that the person, when he was tying them, He had in mind that it should be done for the sake of God. Right? We have to always say the Shem mitzvah tzitzis, for the sake of the mitzvah of tzitzis, for the sake of God. Mitzvah son, so we have to make sure that it was a God-fearing person that did it, that put it together. Mitzvah son, and in accordance with the laws of making tzitzis. Rukim, kashir, and the tzitzis strings also have to have its proper length. Okay, we're talking about the tzitzis. We're going to get also to what you asked about how they have to be worn on the person, if they have out or in. In Chabad, we are customary, I'll just say briefly, in Chabad, we're customary to wear them out. So you should see the tzitzis and remember God's commandments. So we say it's specifically important to wear them a little bit out. Not too long, just a little bit tucking out. Sometimes I wear them longer by accident, just because that's how it ends up. But it's because you don't want them to get dirty or get knotted or get ripped by chairs or things like that. Sometimes I get them stuck on my chairs. So you want them a little bit higher up, but as long as they can be visible to your eye, to other people's eyes. However, we see by other sects of Judaism and Orthodox Judaism, we see that sometimes people are tucking them in. They're wearing them. It doesn't look like they're wearing them because you don't see them, but they're under the person's garment. Okay, that's their way of observing it, and they have their reasons for it. And we'll most probably go into the more details of that as well. We're gonna. A second. Any questions? Like, when are we finishing, maybe? Is that your question? Very soon. We have to see who's commenting over here. Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you. Yes, appreciate your comments. And Rachel is arguing about if it was 44 minutes or... Oh, no, she's not arguing. She's saying a fact that it was 44 minutes, and then she's saying 9:50 will be an hour. Oh, yeah. Very good.
Yeah, okay. That's about 3 minutes.
Okay, so if we go over the hour by 3 minutes, are you going to shoot me? Or are you going to shoot someone else? God forbid, God forbid, God forbid, God forbid. No. You're not allowed to speak that way, and I didn't mean it that way either. Especially that we're in a public forum. You got to be careful if people don't know me yet. You know what I'm saying? They might think I mean business over here. Anyway, chas v'shalom. Yes, no. But we always say, even when learning does end, learning never ends. Learning never ends. So even when it will end, we have to remember to apply it in our lives and continue learning. Even when we're not learning together as a group or in a public forum. Open up the book. Look further to see more about it. Type it on Google. Maybe you might find something interesting. Just always make sure when you're going on Google. Some of these places are, what we say in Yiddish, hack and chinik. People are just writing whatever they feel like, their own stomach aches. So you always want to make sure it's authorized. Sometimes you could tell on your own if it is or not, and sometimes it's worth asking. An competent rabbi that knows these things, and he can tell you. Usually if you're going to Chabad.org, I'll be honest with you, Chabad.org is amazing. Everything has sources there, so it's not just like people just saying stuff. Everything is sourced. Very, very, very simple reading, easy to understand, and you could always, in the search box, type a question. You'll find many answers, and sometimes you won't. And I'll be honest with you, that don't suffice with Chabad.org, as much as they're great.
What's the other one? ADIS? The other one you usually come up with is, you do a search, I forgot the name. ADIS. I forgot the name of the organization.
Aish, maybe.
Aish, yes.
Yeah.
Aish.
Also, they have also they have and they bring sources, I think, also, and it's also user friendly. As long as it's Jewish and kosher, it's good. But don't remember just remember any of these sites. Any of these sites are good for general purposes. You won't find the full on explanation for it, and it's always worth studying more. And thank God today on the internet you can find more, whether it's live broadcasts, online classes, recorded broadcasts, or even written up articles, or maybe just it means calling the rabbi or trying to buy another Jewish book in English or Hebrew. Thank God we have everything today translated into English, very user friendly. Buy the books and have them in your house so you could take it out when you have a question and be able to answer the question yourself. Isn't that an amazing thing you could do? You don't always have to feel like you have to ask the rabbi. Of course, you want to make sure you have the right answer. So if you're not sure or you're confused, always make sure to call the rabbi to double check if you're not sure. But if you have the book and it's straightforward and it says it there with a proper source, then why not? It's amazing to have such books in your home. Have the Code of Jewish Law in your home. Have it with these beautiful books with English. It will tell you a lot. And even these books that we're reading from are still very generalized. It's the Kitzer, it's the abbreviated format. You have today, but you have Kitzer, you have the Shulchan Aruch even translated into English from the lengthy format, which will give you all the details. Now they have the Alter Rebbe, the first Rebbe of Chabad, Shulchan Aruch, with translation, and he is famous in the world over that his writings are very elaboratory and very, very explanatory, meaning not just in length, but very explained and very understood. And that's why a lot of people seek his explanations, because after they learn it in the regular Shulchan Aruch and they got the point, but now when you see it in the Alter Rebbe, in the first Rebbe of Chabad, he gives so much more explanation to it. It gives it so much more enjoyment to learn, even though it's pretty much the same. It's the same law, the same result. It's just so much explanation. But it's already, so much of it is in English today. So you can even sit the same way you'll read these lengthy books, novels, or whatever they are, and that's okay. What's wrong if you just enjoy yourself over a cup of tea and learn another law and feel good that you did another mitzvah, you learned Torah, you took it into a practical way into your beautiful homes, especially that you want to do the right thing at home, bring the right environment to your home, make sure that you, your wife, your children, with God's help, should have the same experience and should see mom and dad that knows what is right, and it trains the children to already know what to do, and they don't have to start from scratch. It's like they're just living it. It's natural, and it's not a burden. It's just we love it. It's just enjoyable. It's coming with this enjoyment, and there's many fun ways to do these things. Sometimes you have to find the fun way to do it. Sometimes we brought up in this old generation. At times, our parents, that's how they were brought up, and we get this like bad feeling about the rabbi, the synagogue, the Torah. It's a scary thing or whatever, or these types of things. We have to remember it really is not that way. It's old school. It's like anything in old school that had this like scary type of thing to it in many different areas of life, not even necessarily in religion. Just old school is old school. We have to remember we're not in old school anymore. With all due respect to the oldies, we love them. We're in new school. New school doesn't mean we forget about the Torah. It means we take the Torah, keep it as is, just make it fun and relatable. And that's what's so beautiful about the Torah today, and all these beautiful books that we have, and all these beautiful centers and rabbis and communities that are trying to bring it that way to the masses and everyone. No doubt about it. We see it. It's obvious from all sects of Judaism. Everyone is loving it so much more, wants it now so much more, because it's accessible. It's so much more enjoyable. And Baruch Hashem for that. We have to thank Hashem for that. And we're going to end. We're just going to say one last thing, because we're right.
Yeah, we're at the time.
We're at the time, just about. How much more minutes? 5 minutes? Or it's what we see on the comments over there.
Go by my wife.
Okay, I'm making problems with this. Maybe I'm right what I said before. Okay, fine. We're gonna end in 2 minutes. Oh, yes. Shalom. Welcome, Liz. Yes. Thank you for watching. Regards. So, okay, fine. We're going to end with this one. Mishi actually shall pishton, one who has no alternative. But of a linen talis, it's of linen. That's all he has. He can't do tzitzis of semer. And don't forget, it is right now we're referring to what he said before. If you recall, that it has to be of wool. And the garment itself should be of wool. So he's saying, if he can't do it of wool and he does it of linen, and he has no choice, then it's okay. But he's saying what's going to happen because he's going to do it of linen. He won't be able to put woolen tzitzis on it because you're not allowed to have woolen tzitzis mixed together.
You can't have wool and linen in general mixed together. I know that.
Woolen linen is shatnez. It's a forbidden thing to have woolen linen. Yes, it's called shatnez.
Yes.
And it's another biblical commandment. Yes, that has no really reasoning for the face value when we read it. There's no real explanation to one of those laws that we call chukim, that are laws that so said God, and we have to be careful. It's a very, very important thing when you buy suits. Make sure that there's no wool and linen mixed together in it. So what if he has a garment that only has of linen? And then he won't be able to put the woolen tzitzis. We said also the tzitzis have to be of wool. So he won't be able to put the woolen tzitzis on it because it's going to end up being wool and linen. That's considered mixed together, even if it's just hanging off it. So there's an opinion that says the yasek nafis shel that he should make the corners of the garment out of leather.
Out of leather?
Out of leather. Would you believe it? That's cool. Only problem is it's not the ideal thing to do. So I don't know if we should start, even though it's a cool idea. I don't know if we're allowed to do it to begin with. If he had no choice. Behem tzitzis shel tzemer, and place upon the woolen tzitzis. Oh, sorry. So it's not the tzitzis mistake. It's not the way to say it is like this. It's not that the tzitzis is of leather. It's hanging off leather.
Right. It's not
so it shouldn't be touching on the linen itself. That's the purpose.
Yeah, which should be leather, a different.
Which is a nice idea, but again, it's not preferred, right? Still, because there's an important way. If we went into all the details of tzitzis, and we could learn it, it's very interesting to learn and possibly even know how to make them. Could be a cool thing to even hands-on make tzitzis. We could do that too if you wanted. We could buy the strings separately and actually make tzitzis. It could be another project we do here at Chabad, and it's really cool. And it's just like a crocheting type of activity. As long as you learn the format, have the right intent, it could be a really nice thing, and you could take it home with you. Have a nice pair of tzitzis, the same quality, the same level that you will buy in a store. But he says in such circumstances where you're going to be putting linen as the actual garment, and then you can't put the wool. It's going to be mixing wool and linen. If you hung off the sides, the corners of the garment, a leather piece, and then hung from there the wool, then it's not like it's connected. Mm-hmm. That's one opinion. However, those that argue with him, you shouldn't do it at all. That shouldn't be done. Meaning you shouldn't do it this way. And it's still considered a problem of shatnez. It's still considered connected, as if it's one piece. So you'll be in an issue, and therefore may lead to one to be mistakenly why. What's the reason why this opinion says it's not good enough? He says in the footnote, because then another person will see it and think he could directly tie tzitzis, and it's what we call marasayin. It will give a person the wrong idea, and then he'll actually directly put linen onto a linen garment, the woolen tzitzis, and thus violating the prohibition of shatnez. And therefore, so what does a person do according to that opinion? What if he only has linen? Right? You're still going to ask, what if he only has linen? The answer is going to be, if he only has linen, he should tie linen tzitzis onto the garment of linen. There's only the garment available for use. Because otherwise he won't fulfill the mitzvah at all. That's why he should tie linen. Okay. With that, we will conclude. Thank you all for watching. I want to just mention to you, great news in Chabad in honor of the New Year. We will be having a special event happening on January 20th at 7:30, if I'm not mistaken, at 7:30 at night. At the Little Neck Park, at the Little Neck Torah. It's called Temple Torah of Little Neck. January 20th. The Agnan Quartet, is that how you say it? Yeah. Orchestra is going to be playing beautiful musical Jewish music, Chabad music, in honor of the Rebbe's accepting the mantle of leadership anniversary in 1951.
You want to show the crowd?
Wow, you have it in front of us. Okay, see, that's how it looks if you even see. It's upside down, inside out, but it's okay. But I'll read it to you quickly, and with that we will conclude, because I know what I did was I compromised between what you asked for, the timing, and so I stopped a little earlier, but about finishing at 10 with this. I hope Rachel doesn't mind me. Okay, so an exquisite evening. Oops. Where is it? One off the side.
Yes.
Oop. Okay. An exquisite evening of heartfelt music and story, marking Yud Shvat, the 60th anniversary. It's the 60th anniversary of the Rebbe accepting the mantle of leadership to Chabad at Lubavitch in 1951, in fact. And it was the day also of the previous Rebbe's passing, the year after he accepted the leadership. Chabad of Arsel's North presents songs of the Rebbe's Nigunim, of the songs of the inspired soul, of the Rebbe's Nigunim, a unique multimedia concert, Sunday evening, January 20th, 2019, at 6 p.m. Oh, it's not 7:30. It's much earlier, 6 p.m. So it's Sunday, so you shouldn't have difficulty coming. Just mark your calendars. That's what's most important, and that's why I'm saying this now, even though you might say we have time, but there is not a lot of time left, and therefore it's important to mark your calendar so you don't do anything else. That's Sunday at 6 o'clock. It's really you don't want to miss this. It's going to be at Temple Torah, 5427 Little Neck Parkway, Little Neck, New York, 11362. It's featuring the Agnon Quartet. It's the recipients of the prestigious American Israeli Cultural Foundation Scholarship Award. Tickets are $25, which is not at all much, because it's including dinner and desserts. So it's pretty amazing for that price, more than pretty. And sponsorships are welcome of 180. And yes, yes, so it's a special time to give tzedakah, and it's going for a great cause towards our Chabad activities. So please mark that on your calendar. You're gonna see shortly also links to the website to RSVP, and it's going to be including all the other Chabads together. It's going to be really nice. So you'll meet other Chabad centers of Queens. It's going to be a huge event. Special event in honor of the Rebbe. It's something that we should show respect and thanks to the Rebbe for what he's provided us in all our Chabad houses, a place of Torah and tefillah and davening and good deeds. So this is a time to sort of show that respect and thank the Rebbe for giving us this opportunity until this very day, even though he passed away in 1994, but his spirit still lives with us, as we see with all the beautiful things we do. So again, it's January 20, 6 p.m. Stay tuned for also the links so you could sign up in RSVP. Thank you, Herb, for that. And I want to thank everyone for watching. Have a Shabbat Shalom. It's Thursday, so we wish everyone Shabbat Shalom. Also a Chodesh Tov, a happy Chodesh, and a happy fiscal New Year. We're going to be blessing the new month this Shabbos, Shabbat, which is Yud Shvat is the Rebbe's anniversary of his leadership of this month. So it's a special month, and we're going to all come together to bless the new month this Shabbos with prayers at 10 o'clock, 9:30 a Halachah class, 9:30 Torah class. Yes, it includes also halacha, but mystical aspects of the Torah and Chassidut from the Rebbe, and how we could apply them in our day-to-day lives. 9:30 this Shabbos with coffee and cake, homemade cake by Chaya, and thereafter 10 o'clock we're going to have services with a kids program, an amazing kids program. Tomorrow we'll be here to run that program. She's not here every week, but she will be here especially this week. So bring your kids, bring your families to celebrate Shabbos together, and we will obviously daven here with the adults together, a beautiful prayer service with Kriyat Torah and blessing the new month, and then we will have a beautiful Kiddush and Seil Chaim. Sponsorships are welcome. Have a good Shabbos. Thank you all for watching. This is Rabbi Mendy Hecht of Chabad of Arsel's North, and Shalom to you all.